Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest in our Journey to the XR Knowledge Metaverse podcast series here at EON Reality. I'm Jamie Justice. I'm Director of Education US. With me today is Renah Walsinger, our Chief Learning Officer, Megan Blevins, our Director of Customer Success, and John Green, our Director of XR Experiences. So it took me a little while on the change over there. Sorry about that. We've been really excited talking here lately at EON about some things you've probably seen in the news a lot about AI and tools that are available with artificial intelligence. And our team here at EON has been really excited about what the future brings with that. So we thought today we would take a few minutes and just chat amongst ourselves and share with you our thoughts and some of the exciting things that are coming along in the area of artificial intelligence embedded inside the EON suite of tools or platform, whichever terminology you want to use. So I thought with that, we'll kick off here, and I'll let my esteemed colleagues share with you their thoughts on artificial intelligence and what it means to the future of augmented reality, virtual reality, teaching and learning, and all aspects of human life that we're going to encounter using this technology. So who wants to kick it off? Renah, John, Megan, it's your turn.
I will. That's okay. Hey, everybody. I'm just going to say this. One of my favorite things in my whole career I've ever done is mentoring students. And now I have a way to spend more time doing that and less time doing other stuff. I'm just going to start with that. Megan, go.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my kind of epiphany moment with AI just happened last week. So we hit the news that New York was saying, nope, we're not going to let this GPT-3 thing in the school, and went, oh, and wait, before you do that, I didn't want to see kind of that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, what is this thing and we don't know what to do with it, so we're just going to ban it. It just seemed so intense all of a sudden, and I just really felt like, no, we need to talk about this. We need to figure out what are the really good aspects of utilizing this tool. As Dan would say, the cat is out of the bag and we're not going to be able to put the cat back in the bag. So when OpenAI unleashed this tool, it's here like calculators and spell check and the internet and Google, it's here. So instead of trying to shove it back in the bag, let's just let it be and figure out how to leverage it in education. So that was my big AI moment of the last week or so. How about you, John?
Megan, I love that analogy. When you were saying that, I thought of the analogy that my basketball coach used to say: you can't put toothpaste back into the tube. It doesn't work. So once it's out, it's out. Let's analyze it. Let's discuss it. I think there's so much good potential that we can extract from AI and education. And I think a really key point here is efficiency and time-saving activities for teachers. We all work with educators. We know how little time educators have in all the work they have to do to create lessons and make it engaging, make it exciting. AI will only help educators be more efficient and more effective in what they do on a day-to-day basis. So I'm excited to unpack this and playing around with the tools. I've seen a lot of wows when I show the product. So I think we have something exciting here. It's going to be great to talk about it and see where it applies to education.
Right.
Yeah, I've got to chime in too. I agree. I was probably a little slow at first thinking about how we would actually use it, but I almost see it as a paradigm shift. There is a new way of engaging students and having students work with each other and be paired together. And I've been playing with the tools quite a bit, and it's just everything. I'm gonna see if I can stump it, and so far, it's answered every question that I've tried to put through it to see how it can work and can be used. So lots of cool things coming from it, and probably I don't have the enthusiasm today that Megan does. She trumps me for once on the the excitement. I usually get that title, but anyway, all that said, it is an amazing thing that is in our grasp to use and use in more effective ways than we ever thought about using it. I think that the thing is not what you perceive it to be used for, but what can it be used for, and how can it be used to do things differently and to think differently about teaching and learning and other aspects of life. What other thoughts do you guys have about AI going forward? What are some things that you see with this trend and other product or other comments that you'd like to make?
So for me, like I was just going back to things that I've spent a lot of time on, and one of the things I spent a lot of time on is teaching about microphones because there's so many and so many different applications. So the first thing I did, because that's the first thing that came into my head, I put in some information from my course outline. Then I just asked it to write a quiz about condenser mics versus dynamic versus compressor versus ribbon mics, and it put out a quiz with multiple modalities, multiple choice, true, false, different things that I was, first of all, wrote better wrong answers than I write because I'm not good at wrong answers. And I was pretty much floored from then on. And then I'm like, oh, I wonder if it can make a grading rubric for that. It did. And an associator project, it did. So while I'm teaching about these microphones in the AR world, I would have 2 microphones in my project and a mixer and talk about how they record. And then now all the other stuff I can spend time teaching. Well, it generates information for me to share with my students, whether it's in my LMS or however I present that information. So that was like the first thing off the bat that I did.
That is awesome. As you were saying that, it made me think of examples and non-examples. So one of the things inside of AI tools is, okay, I'm going to ask it a question, or I'm going to ask it to generate something from me. And that can be kind of intimidating, especially if as a teacher, I understand that these tools can do things like write a paper. Yes, it can write a paper, but it's really interesting. I was reading about a teacher who was trying to get their students to write very specific kinds of poems. And she asked the AI to create the poem. And while in syntax, it was perfect, it lacked emotion and it lacked depth, and it did all of those things that human element brings into the creation process. It couldn't do that. It could make it, but it couldn't make it like that human being could make it. And so I see it as an opportunity to say, okay, student, let's look at some examples and then non-examples. Where and how could you take what you just got spit back out at you and make it better? And I think that's that whole idea of leveraging the tool to your advantage as opposed to looking at it as a threat, right? So it can be a really beneficial thing in that realm of examples and non-examples, and creating things and then having students critique it, having them critique themselves as they're creating things. Because a lot of times students who are learning something new, getting initial, like the syntax of the poem, right? It's hard for them to come up with things. So using it as a brainstorming tool can be really impressive and a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think the fun part is going to make these connections between the course content and what the students are learning. And the really thing exciting here at EON, we're heading the direction we're headed to. We're making this connection between AI and 3D models, which could be an object or an environment, and we're connecting the two, which is very unique experience. So if I'm learning about a hospital room and specific surgery, instead of just reading about it, I'm going to place my students inside of that environment where they get to see, they get to interact, they get to walk around, and they get to interact with an AI assist avatar model where I can ask questions inside of this room. So we're not only doing AI, but we're connecting it to an environment in a model that's relevant to what the students are learning. So imagine that experience where we're placing them in a situation where they get to explore, walk around, tap into the AI, learn the information as if they were there. They can do from home. So I think that that's a truly powerful learning experience that will be lured.
Yeah, and feedback, right? So not only can they, as they're asking questions and maybe they're engaging in a check for understanding and they're trying to say, okay, did I get that? And no, they didn't get it. But now I can go back and I can ask that AI again, help me, I'm making this mistake, and it can help push and kind of personalize and give immediate feedback on the learning experience itself, which is super exciting. So Jamie, I'm getting all excited again.
Yeah, so we're just saying that time on task. It's how much time am I spending on the task itself rather than kind of not learning. But so now we get to up that time on task with these experiences.
Mix this with virtual reality tools and augmented and so forth. And now I think it's another level of immersion. It's another way that we pull students into the learning and facilitate learning experiences that are extremely powerful, that will help with engagement and attainment long term if we're really smart and we embrace this and use it in the right way. And I think that's the real potential that this brings to us as well. Another way to better engage students.
Absolutely. I think of it still like, and I probably say this in every episode, I compare everything to Star Trek and Star Wars, if you noticed. You go back and look. But in this case, it's Captain Kirk asking to turn on the warp cells and, go to warp speed. You don't have to look at Google on one site or something. You just talk. And this 25 years of looking at relational databases, so the information comes out in a better way and quicker so that you can move on. And probably the next step in life is like, then the computer or robot behind you is going to be doing the things that you ask it about as well. But it's instantaneous. I mean, that's one thing we didn't mention is the words and the information come out instantly. That's pretty much like if I took an hour to write a quiz, now I'm looking at it in about 40 seconds or so.
It's really cool. If you think about it, how many people fear their Roomba? That's a robot doing something that we've always done. It hasn't replaced us. It's something we used to make us better. You might still go over with a regular vacuum, but it's the same simple analogy, I guess, but that kind of another way of looking at things as well. Don, you had some
made amazing videos, right, of like pets riding around on Zumbas too.
My favorite are all the people who are inside the Roomba. Yeah, I mean, I never thought of that they were all there already directing it around. So, Don, you had some thoughts on course development activities and some ways that could be infused into using AI in teaching and learning. You want to share with us your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And I started out from the point of view to understand the teacher's workflow. What do educators do on a daily basis? And maybe somebody understanding some of the pain points and the activities that teacher is responsible to do on a given semester. So I found this chart. It's from an academic journal called the Analysis of Time Investment in Online Teaching. It's a log of the daily approach. So here lists out several activities that teachers must go through to develop courses. So just thinking on a one course, we're taking intro to chemistry. What does that teacher have to do? They have to create assignments. They have to create tests. They have to create digital content. Perhaps it's a hybrid course that's online. The lectures need to be recorded. Discussion threads need to be reviewed. And that's just on development activities. There's a whole administrative side to it as well. See on the right-hand side, dealing with course administration, following up with questions. So I could just imagine the day-to-day of an educator in today's world where you're doing online and on-site classes. This is a lot of time taken. And some of this time is not even time in teaching time. It's teaching outside of the classroom. It's not you're investing. So I'm just thinking where AI can make a huge shift and a benefit. I'll say this is the teacher's best friend in a way, where it can free up a lot of the administrative tasks. A lot of the time spent in creating engaging assignments can be done with AI. In this way, you are more productive and you can create maybe more engaging activities, maximizing the time you have with that student in the classroom or virtually.
Reminds me of that. Yeah, there's always a lag between the curriculum and what's going on in the workforce, because it takes 3 years to get curriculum through for all of these various reasons. Just imagine how much faster we can do that, and then also update the learning management system or whoever that content is being delivered. And so that, that's a big benefit to students going into the workforce, I think, but just a big benefit to faculty as that assistant, because it takes a good 3 months to get a really good 16 to 18 week course in a LMS system with all of the various activities. Having an assistant there with you to crank that out and then you manage that, it's a much better system. So you spend more time teaching and kind of honing that in.
Yeah, I agree totally. I mean, it makes perfect sense, and I think it is. As we showed at the bottom, it's a powerful creation resource in this knowledge metaverse. It's something else we infuse just to make our lives better, more efficient, and more easier ways of doing things, and working smarter, not harder, and reducing the time load that we have on us, and especially for faculty whose job doesn't end at the end of the class period. It ends, the time taking for planning and putting together far exceeds the actual delivery time in many cases. And so this is something that I think has a lot of promise for the future. Well, I noticed that somewhere along the way we lost Megan from out of the group.
Yeah, she's in the middle of a storm here in California, so
Oh yeah,
not enough. Yeah.
So I think we've started some discussion here, and I think we will be back. I'm sure we will be back and talk much more about AI and its place inside of the XR Knowledge Metaverse, and where things are going to go in the future. We're excited about the potentials for what it has, and our team at EON is constantly working to improve and update and add and put new feature sets inside of the platform. And I think you're going to see even more exciting stuff coming out as we're hearing now. 2023. When did that happen? So anyway, I thought I would leave us off here, and unless you and Renah or John have comments that you'd like to make to wind us up for today. Otherwise, we'll call this session a complete, and we'll move on to our next one sometime within the next couple of weeks.
All right.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you all for being with us. Have an awesome day whenever or wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you on our next journey to the XR Knowledge Metaverse podcast very soon.